Today's story is about a plaza in London where a terrifying presence is said to exist in the parking area, and at night something unseen makes its presence felt. No parking guard is able to stay there for long. This story was sent by Daniel from Birmingham. My name is Daniel, and I belong to a small town near Manchester. My hometown is beautiful, surrounded by hills and greenery, but job opportunities are very limited. I come from a poor family and could only complete my basic education. Because of financial struggles and family responsibilities, I moved to London in search of work. This incident happened about 3 months ago when I had just arrived in the city. After reaching London, I stayed with my uncle, who had been living there for several years and running a small business. At first, I thought finding a job would be easy, but due to my limited education, I faced rejection everywhere. Eventually, my uncle spoke to a friend who owned an old commercial building in central London, and he offered me a job as a parking attendant in the basement. I was extremely happy because along with the job, I was given a small room to stay in and food as well, which was more than enough for someone new in the city. My shift was from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and my duty was to manage incoming and outgoing vehicles, issue parking tickets, and guard the basement after closing time. There was another guard working with me, Mr. Williams, who was around 50 years old with a white beard and a calm, kind personality, and from the very first day he treated me like his own son. The first few days passed peacefully. Evenings were busy, but after 10 p.m., the basement would become completely silent. Since it was underground, there was no natural light, and the air felt damp, cold, and suffocating, while the old fluorescent lights flickered occasionally, making the place feel even more eerie. At night, Mr. Williams would often become alert, repeatedly getting up and checking the corners of the parking area with a flashlight. One night around 1 a.m., while we were having tea, he suddenly leaned closer to me and said in a low voice that if I ever saw someone standing in the far corner of the parking, I should never go near it. I was surprised and asked if it was a thief, but he shook his head and simply told me to ignore it and never leave my spot. I laughed it off, thinking he was joking or imagining things, but everything changed. On the night he was absent due to illness, and I was completely alone. It was around 3 a.m., and the basement felt colder than usual as I sat on my chair, passing time on my phone. Suddenly, I noticed something in the far corner, the darkest part of the parking area, where the indicator lights of an old car started blinking slowly. At first, I thought it was an electrical fault or that the car owner had returned, but then I remembered the main gate was locked and no one had entered. I stood up and called out, asking who was there, but my voice echoed back with no reply. Slowly, I began walking toward the car, and as I got closer, the lights suddenly stopped. I checked the car, and it was completely empty. I returned to my seat, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination, but within minutes, I heard something again. Heavy footsteps, like boots, hitting the concrete floor, echoing through the silence. My heart started racing as I picked up my flashlight and pointed it toward the sound, and that's when I saw him. Someone was standing in the corner, a tall figure wearing a long black coat and a cap, facing directly toward me. Trying to stay calm, I asked who he was and what he was doing there, but there was no response and he didn't move at all. I slowly started walking closer, and as I reached within a few steps, the light fell clearly on his face, and what I saw is something I will never forget. His skin was pale like a corpse, and there was a deep wound running from his forehead across his eye down to his cheek. One eye was completely destroyed, white and lifeless, while the other eye was pitch black, staring straight into mine. His lips were blue and slightly open, as if he wanted to speak, but no words came out. My body froze, and I couldn't move, and then slowly, he raised his hand toward me. That was the moment I screamed, and as soon as I screamed, he disappeared into thin air as if he had never been there. I ran for my life, hearing footsteps behind me as though something was chasing me, and when I reached the main gate, I was trembling, sweating, and barely able to breathe. I called Mr. Williams in panic, and he immediately told me to leave the basement, go to my room, lock the door, and not come out. I ran to my room and locked myself inside, and that night I didn't sleep at all, as I kept seeing that face again and again. By morning, I had a high fever, and for an entire week I couldn't get out of bed, as every time I closed my eyes, I saw that same figure. Later, when I recovered slightly, I returned during the daytime and asked Mr. Williams the truth, and what he told me sent chills down my spine. He said that what I saw was not human, and explained that before the building was constructed, there used to be an old abandoned well at that exact spot where people believed something lived. When the building was made, the well was sealed, but whatever was inside remained there. He told me that you can destroy a place, but you cannot always remove what lives there. I didn't argue, and I left that job the same day. Even now, months later, sometimes I feel like those footsteps are still following me, and sometimes in my dreams, I still see that face.